recording. So, I have to turn the camera on. The other camera. Okay. No, I wanted to focus. Okay, now it's recording. Okay, the background noise is the kettle. So today we're going to keep going with greedy algorithms. We're going to start off. So I'm going to close that so it doesn't distract me. We're going to start off with pretty not super hard stuff. So did people here? I'll switch it to where you can vote. Oh, again, the setup is going to be that if you want to ask something or say something, so everybody please have your mics off. But then if you want to ask something or say something, then you can put like message or put your hand up or something, and Moshan will handle the class while I'm teaching, and then she can turn, if she thinks I should know something, she can turn her mic on and tell me. Okay? So I hope you can put your hands up now to vote. Oh, that's neat. How did you do okay, you can give yourself pictures, I guess. And so that's the thumbs up picture. Did people go to the tutorials? Yes. Okay. Some people. Good. Okay, people did. So last week on Wednesday, we saw the problem, this problem of given a bunch of sorted but unequal lengths lists, figure out how you can merge them optimally. And then we saw that that's actually the problem of constructing an optimal prefix-free code. And so the algorithm came up with for that is Huffman's algorithm, which is famous for constructing an optimal prefix-free code. Normally, previous when I taught this class, I taught Huffman's algorithm without that nice introduction, and then it's pretty gruesome. But this way, it started off with something not so painful, and then we saw this big famous problem. And then for the tutorial, you saw start off with the gas station problem, I believe. This problem of, which is actually from the book. So in my version, it talks about gas stations, and in your version, in my edition, which is from the 90s, it talks about gas stations. And in your edition, it talks about somebody trying to rollerblade across Minnesota or something. Okay, so this is quite natural, because you think, if you were trying to drive a certain route and you knew where the gas stations were and you wanted to make as few stops as possible, in real life, what would you do? Well, anybody would do the greedy thing, which is drive as far as you can, but stopping at the last station where you can actually get gas. Unless you're with somebody who is like, oh, we should stop here because maybe the next gas station will be out of gas and then we'll be stuck. But you know, the obvious thing to do is like, okay, we go as far as we can, but then we refuel at the last stop, at the last possibility we have. And then if you're out driving with somebody and you said, oh well, maybe we should stop here. And they said, but there's another gas station we can get to. And you said, yeah, but maybe if we stop here, there's a possibility that somehow later this will benefit us. And they'd say, you're crazy. Like, obviously, they would come up with the exchange argument. Well, they might not. They might just ignore you. But they might intuitively come up with the exchange argument and say, what do you mean? How could it possibly be the case that if we stop here, we might be able to make fewer stops? Because if we stop here, anything we would do from now on, we could still do, by going that extra step to the next station and filling up there, then you get this idea that, you know, anything you do from then on, you do the exchange argument. They probably wouldn't say it in terms of, I assume that after I steps, you have your sub-solution after I steps can be extended to an optimal solution. Show that after I plus 1 steps, it can be your sub-solution can be extended to an optimal solution as prime. They wouldn't put it that way, but the intuition is fairly clear. This is not that bad. So I don't want you to think, now I don't want you to think that it's super easy. Because people do get this impression. This is one of the reasons I started off with coloring and really hard problems, even for divide and conquer, because people get the impression that divide and conquer and greedy are really simple and easy, and you can only use them on sort of low-level problems. And that's not true. For example, I have a reminder to myself written down somewhere to tell you about, well, not actually teach you the simplex algorithm, but for a long time, people solved linear programs using an algorithm called simplex. So if you've done combinatorial optimization, most people still use this algorithm, the simplex algorithm, which sort of, you have this polytope in high dimensions, and you walk from vertex to vertex of the polytope trying to optimize. And it's a greedy algorithm. And it's not that simple, and it's not that fast. It can actually take exponential time. So for a long time, people didn't know if linear programming was polynomial time until they came up with a much more complicated algorithm called the ellipsoid method. And now there are other techniques, which I knew at one point, but I have forgotten. So it's so today we'll start with something that's about the same level as the gas station problem, and then to convince you that this isn't easy, trivial stuff, I'm gonna go back to working on hard problems again with greedy algorithms. Sorry for the clap. Okay. We have a few people. Yes, we're recording. Good. And the kettle is boiled, so I can make tea when we get to a break. So the first problem I want to talk about is, it's in the book, it's called fractional knapsack. So imagine that you're going camping because the weather is amazing right now. Wow, this is so good. So you're filling up a knapsack with food, and you happen to be only taking food that you can cut. Okay, so no jars of pickles. A single pickle you can cut, but a jar of pickles you cannot cut. Okay, so no, like a water bottle, either you have a water bottle or you do not have a water bottle, but you can't take half a water bottle. Okay, but now we're just considering things like cheese, what else can you, food? Like you could cut a loaf of bread, you know, things like, presumably you could cut a chocolate bar if you really wanted to. It's a bit messy, but okay, so stuff you can slice, right? So now you have your knapsack, and your knapsack has say, I don't know, I forget how much can I carry? I can carry like maybe comfortably. Let's overestimate and say I can carry, on a really good day, let's pretend I could carry 20 kilos. Okay, can you see the board? Maybe. Yes, good. Okay. So everything, now you have a chocolate bar, which is 100 grams. You have a loaf of bread, which is a kilo. I don't know if that's true. You have cheese. I like cheese. Let's say you have 2 kilos of cheese, and so on. But everything you can cut. Okay, actually, let's say, to make this a bit more, let's say that you can have, let's say I'm just carrying 10 kilos. I want to walk quickly. Okay, so everything doesn't just have a weight, it has some value. Okay, am I walking or are you walking? Either of us. Okay. So it has a value. So let's say this has value, can't spell, value 12 units. Value 12 units. This has value 6 units. Maybe this is calories. Okay, value 10 units, etc. Okay, so now the question is, you want to fill up the backpack in such a way. Ooh, there are questions. Mojan. No, okay, there are no questions. Okay, never mind. Mojan, is your mic working?
Yes, it is working.
Good. So, hello. You can also ask questions. If I say something and you think it doesn't make sense, just stop me and
Okay.
so you want to fill up the knapsack with stuff. So presumably you have more stuff than will fit in the knapsack than you can carry. But you want to fill it up. You want to select stuff such that the knapsack, you end up carrying as many units of value as you can. Okay? Is the problem clear? So you're given this long list of things, and you want to select things to put in the knapsack to maximize your value. Okay? Good. Okay. We have fewer people than last week. Ooh, it's there again. It's another beautiful day. It's a Monday. I have 27 people. No, okay. Yes, yes. This is fractional. Knapsack. So every item is, I believe the term is fungible. Okay, but let's suppose I only have one chocolate bar. Okay. Only the physical, not the dimensions, the objects themselves. Yes. So we're only going to talk about, it's like a one-dimensional thing. Okay. Yes. It's not like, we're not playing Tetris with the chocolate bars. It's just weight, or it could be volume. I mean, if I did this in liters, this would be volume. But yeah, you can cut them and you can also squish them. Okay. So don't overthink this. What would you do? What would, yes, if you take the whole 2 kilograms of cheese, you get value 10. If you cut it in half and you take 1 kilogram, you get value 5. Okay, so the value, if you cut an item, the value you get is proportional to the amount that you take. So what would you do? Okay, but let's say I only have one. Okay, that one. Let's go with that last suggestion. Because the thing is, it could be, so let's explore the other suggestions. Okay, let's suppose I only have one chocolate bar. So I would take probably I would take the chocolate bar. But I wouldn't, if I had something, I'm trying to think of what this could. Okay. So let's suppose that on this list there is oh no, sorry, this is going to be 10 kilos. Okay, maybe it doesn't even have to be that giant. How much is, yeah, that would be pretty big. But no, I've seen watermelons that big. In Italy, they get really, in the south of Italy, they're huge. Okay, so let's suppose that I have the option of taking a giant watermelon, which is 10 kilos, and it has value 20. I probably wouldn't, I mean, that could be the most valuable item, but it would completely fill my backpack. So we don't want to just take the most valuable thing, because then I can't take anything else. Whereas if I took the cheese, the bread, and the chocolate bar, then it wouldn't even fill my backpack, and I would have value 28. So it's not the most. Now there was another suggestion, actually, but wait, Mojan is
Yes.
okay, but right now there was yes. So yes, the idea is we want to do value dense. So we're going to take the ratio of the value over the weight, and we're going to, and which is so the density, and then we're going to take the most dense item. And if we can't take it all, we're going to cut it and take as much of it as we can. Okay? So in this case, maybe it's, so we can take the whole chocolate bar. And then maybe the second most valued, so what is this density? This is 12 over 0.1 equals 120. Okay. This density is 6 over 1 equals 6. This density is 10 over 2 equals 5. Okay, then maybe what can be my second then? 12. Okay, let's say that I have something here which is, oh, what can I take? I forget the name of this Mazaplan. Okay, so somebody, what's a food that can be cut? Carrots. Let's say that I can take 5 kilos of carrots and they have value. Okay, so density, this is density 1. This is 12. Let's say carrots, 5 kilos, and they have to be a higher density than anything else. So they have to be, say, 31. Let's say this is 31. So that way, the value divided by is a little bit bigger than 6. Okay, and so on and so on. So does everybody understand how we sort the items? And then it's greedy in that we take it and we take as much as we can. And if we can't take everything, we cut it and then we stop because we filled up the knapsack. And if we have space left in the knapsack, then we take the next thing. Okay? So, pretty straightforward. How do we show that this is optimal? Well, so remember, I'm giving you this template for how to prove greedy algorithms provide optimal solutions. What you start off with. Before we take any steps, we have not messed up, okay? Our empty subsolution can be extended to an optimal solution. So let's suppose, now what does this mean? It means if we have, suppose we're doing some task and some algorithm expert is on the way, right? But the algorithm expert is arriving at noon, and we have to sort of keep things running until then. So the idea is, we don't say that they have to follow our algorithm. We just say that we have to not mess up. We have to do things in such a way that when they finally get here, they can take the solution, the sub-solution, which we've got so far, and then they can finish it off in a way that the total solution is optimal. Okay? So they're on the way, but we have to take maybe the first few steps and not mess up. Okay? So that's what it means. Now, before we do anything, we haven't messed up. Because if they arrive and we haven't done anything, then nothing is our fault. Okay? So we just have to be concerned about, okay, when we take a step, do we mess things up? Do we break things irrevocably in such a way that even when they arrive, however good they are, they can't get an optimal solution out of it? Okay? So before we take any steps, well, or before we have taken, when we have taken 0 steps, our empty subsolution can be extended to an optimal solution, right? Because we haven't done anything that they wouldn't do because we haven't done anything. Okay? Do people see that? No, you could look around and yes, okay, somebody understands. The thing is, I can't see if people put up their hands when I'm on the chat thing. Okay, so suppose that after I steps, our subsolution can be extended to an optimal solution S. Okay, so it's now okay. Somebody's asking something. Okay, no, just putting your hand up. Okay. Is the camera? Yeah, the camera can see pretty much all of the whole board. Before, yes, okay. Okay, so it is now 11 something something. Oh, no, it's 12. Okay, suppose that the algorithm expert is arriving at 12:30, and And this, we have to take a step every 5 minutes. So we just have to take 6 steps. We just have to not mess up in the first 6 steps. Suppose that we manage to do that. So it gets to 12:30 and we haven't messed up. So there exists a way that the algorithm expert can arrive and extend our sub-solution to get an optimal solution. So maybe we didn't do what the algorithm expert would do. Maybe those 6 steps, we did our own thing, but there is still a way they can fix things and still get the same optimal solution, or not the same optimal solution necessarily, but the same value, the same total value in the knapsack that they would get doing their solution from the beginning. Okay? Because there could be multiple optimal solutions. So that's for the first 6 steps. But then the algorithm expert gets stuck in traffic and calls and says, oop, I'm going to be 5 more minutes. Okay? And then we think, oh, okay. So now we're going to have to take another step. So the idea is we show that after I plus 1 steps, is this big enough? Moshe, big enough?
Yes, it's good.
Okay.
Only one person is saying it's too small.
Oh wait, somebody said it's too small? Oh,
Little
okay.
too small.
Full screen option? I don't know. Okay, I can try to write a bit bigger. There exists an optimal solution S prime. So wait. After I plus 1 steps, our sub-solution can be to an optimal solution S prime. Now, this means that at 12:30, I can only blow you up so much. Okay, yeah. So is this okay? This is a little bit bigger, these 3 lines.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, yes, good. Okay, so this doesn't mean S prime has to be X. Maybe at 12:30, if the algorithm expert arrived, they'd be able, they'd do the rest of our solution one way, S, but now we do another step and they'll arrive and say, wow, I would never have done that. But don't worry, I can still fix things and get the optimal value in the knapsack. So we can still get, there is an optimal solution, okay? And usually how this works, you use this optimal substructure. This stuff is in the book, so you just have to, it's pretty much always the same. It's not always easy, but it's pretty much always the same. You have to, the trick is to find how you sort. So at the beginning, do you sort by size? No. Do you sort by value? No. Do you sort by ratio? Yes. This is like, you saw the activity selection on Friday in the tutorials, right? And the TAs said, you know, how do you sort these activities? Do you sort them? Do you take the one that has? Do you sort them in order of start time, which is a natural thing to do, but wrong? Okay, do you sort them in order by duration, which is another natural thing to do, but also wrong? Or do you sort by shortest duration first? No. Longest duration first? That would be a bit weird. And then finally you get to, okay, do you sort it by deadline? Okay, you went through this?
Yes, we did.
Good. And so you figure out how to sort things, and sometimes that choice is bizarre. So on Wednesday, it was not that weird to say, okay, we merge the two smallest lists. But if you see if you see Huffman just from, straight away, point blank, why do you take the two smallest probabilities and put them together? It's not clear. So finding the way to sort is one of the tricks. And then the other one, something else, is this way to take S. What we do is we suppose there is an S, and we show that suppose if S also extends our subsolution after I plus 1 steps. Basically, if the algorithm expert would arrive, and then on the next step, they would do what we did, then, okay, then we have nothing to do. So we have to assume the algorithm expert arrives and then does something else. So they arrive, they have our partial solution, and they say, okay, I can fill up the rest of the knapsack with stuff to get an optimal value, total value. And if the next thing we would take is cheese, and the next thing they would take is cheese, then we're fine. Obviously, our subsolution can be extended to an optimal solution because we assume that they can do this. But suppose they show up and we take cheese and they say, ooh, the next thing I would have taken was the other thing that can be cut. I would take the apples. Then we have to be able to say, well, you would take the apples, but we took the cheese, and we have to take your solution S and do some sort of swap. Okay? So people refer to this as an exchange argument. You assume that there exists an optimal solution that extends what you've got so far, and then you take that, we call S, and then you take that and you say, okay, well, if S doesn't have cheese next, you don't know S. You can't say anything really about S, but you just assume it exists, and then you reason about it, and you show that you could exchange one of the items in it, and you could get something which agrees, which can be, my shirt, which can be extended with the next item you pick. Okay, so let's do that. So this is going to be S, okay? This is going to be what the algorithm expert does when they arrive at 12:30. Okay. So they take apples, and then they take some other stuff. Okay, so this is S. Now, how many apples are there? Let's say that there are 3 kilos of apples. Okay? So this is an example, just an example. So they don't take the cheese. We can assume, like within the backpack, we can assume we can sort these any way we like. We can rearrange them. So they take the apples, they don't take the cheese later. Because if they took the cheese later, it would be easy for us to take S. So if this were cheese, if ZZZ were cheese, we would just say, okay, we swap ZZZ down to where the apples are, and if the apples where the ZZZ is, we just reorder things, and we get an optimal solution that extends. So S is optimal by assumption. That's the inductive hypothesis. So if ZZZ is cheese, we can just swap and we get something that has cheese next. Okay? And we get this S prime. Ah, the camera turned itself off. Okay, right. I went and got this camera, and now people want to use I still don't have a webcam. Okay, so we assume if cheese is in here somewhere, then it's easy, we can just rearrange. So let's assume cheese is not in here. So we took 2 kilograms of cheese. Okay. What do we do? What exchange argument do we do? I need Mojan to work. So somebody put up their hand, and Mojan selects somebody. Anybody put up your hand?
No, nobody.
Mojan, what do we do next? How do we do this exchange? Anybody still here? I know this seems really easy, but it's about to get hard. This problem is super simple, but then notice I've been doing this easy problem, hard problem, easy problem, hard problem. Don't worry, so the next problem will be more interesting. It'll be about the same, but okay. Anybody, come on, class interaction, participation. Hand up, somebody, hand up. Otherwise, I randomly choose someone. Where it stops, nobody knows. Okay, look, I can. Ben Kelly, are you there?
I am here. I guess I'm the lucky winner.
Yes, woohoo. Actually, this makes it really easy to choose somebody. I just sort of spin the trackpad, I could get the mouse and do the scroll wheel. Okay, so how do we remember this stuff. Let's get some of this out of here. So this is fractional map set. Let's leave that there. How do we take S? S we're assuming is optimal. S is what the algorithm expert comes up with if they arrive at 12:30, and we've only done 2 things, and then they finish it off. They take apples, they take X, 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 Y, 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 and Z, Z, Z. But then, how do we show that if we take cheese next, there is still a solution that that gets at least as much value as S? How do we build this S prime?
Could we assume that cheese is next and then try different combinations of whatever else we could put next and then compare the result to S?
Basically, yes, but we want to, so we don't know what this is. We just know that there's some items in here. We don't even know that this is apples. We just know that S is optimal, and it's the next thing it has is not cheese. So instead of actually,
There's one response from Liam.
Oh, wait, I didn't, Mojan again? Okay, but Mojan, you're in charge. Are we?
So Liam is saying, could we swap cheese with what they got and see if we get the same solution after?
That's very close. So we're getting closer, warmer. So what we're going to do is cheese is 2 kilograms. If apples is 3 kilograms, then what we can do is take this and wipe out the first 2 kilograms of it and put in cheese. Right? So how do we know? Now, okay, so you can't really see that this used to be apples, but it was. So this is now 2 kilograms of cheese and 1 kilogram of apples. How do we know that that doesn't reduce the overall value of what's in this knapsack? And that, if we do that, now this becomes S prime, and we need to say that this is optimal. And, okay, so we now have 2 people. So between Liam and Ben, who wants to answer it? Who wants to argue that swapping in the cheese did not decrease the value?
Wouldn't they both need to have the same value to not decrease the value? I'm a little confused.
Well, it could have, so we don't actually know, I was saying 3 kilograms, we don't actually know how big the apples are. But what we do know, so it could be, like we don't know how far the apples extend. But even if,
Gabriel is saying because cheese is more value dense based on our algorithm. And
yes,
Liam is saying if the value density of 2 kilogram of cheese is the same as 2 kilogram of apples.
okay, yes, the density is the key thing. Because we chose the cheese because it was the most value dense. So the value we got from 2 kilograms of cheese is at least as great as whatever value we were getting from the first 2 kilograms of apples. We don't know what the total value of apples was. We just know that for the first 2 kilos, proportionately we were getting less value or not more value, because we sorted by value density. Maybe apples have the same value density as cheese, but they can't have more. Otherwise, we would have picked apples too. Notice it also works if we had only, so we had 1 kilogram of apples, and then we had like something else, www, 1 kilogram, and then we had something else, AAA, 1 kilogram and something. Then, or let's say that this was 1.5, then we would still know that we could wipe out, we could replace 2 kilograms of cheese, we could replace the apples and 1 kilogram of whatever this WWF is by 2 kilograms of cheese. And this 2 kilogram has a higher value than this stuff because it has a higher density. Okay? So we don't know what this is, but we know that if we take some part of it, if we take 2 kilos of it and just, any 2 kilos in fact, and just sort of take it out and throw it away and put in the 2 kilos of cheese, the total value doesn't go down. And that's all we need. We don't need this to argue about like, and then what happens in the steps afterwards. Because remember from Wednesday, it's like it wasn't Alan's job to say how we merged everything. He only had to answer about the first step. So again, we just have to say, okay, if we haven't messed up after I steps, and we take the I plus first step, and we also don't mess up. And then by induction, we say, okay, in that case, if after I steps for any I we didn't mess up, then for the I plus first step we mess up, then the whole algorithm doesn't mess up, and we end up getting an optimal solution. So this is why it's called an exchange argument, because you take the thing and you swap something. You take whatever the algorithm expert would have taken, and you take what you would have taken, and you exchange them, and then you get an optimal solution. I know this example. I hope that do people think this. Do people understand this example?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. 2 people. Okay. Okay. So that's like 3 people, and it's like getting close to 3% of the class. Okay. So now, I want to, so that's how you show that greedy algorithms are optimal. We will keep going over that. But now, just to sort of, remind you, so I've been trying to emphasize throughout the class that, okay, we're not going to get, oh no, this is good. The minimum spanning trees are for Wednesday. So I have half an hour left. I've been trying to go from Eulerian cycles to Hamiltonian cycles to show you that, it's not surprising we can find Eulerian cycles. By itself, that statement is not surprising. It is not surprising by itself that we can't find Hamiltonian cycles. What's surprising is that we can find Eulerian cycles and we can't find Hamiltonian cycles. So it's that if you change the problem a little bit, then stuff can drastically change and the difficulty can change a lot. Okay, so let's switch this and let's not consider fractional knapsack. Let's consider an easy version of a problem called binary knapsack. So I want to get across to you that greedy algorithms, just like we did divide and conquer for 3 colorability, greedy algorithms are not just for easy stuff. Okay, so binary knapsack, as it sounds, it's binary. Either you take something or you don't. You don't get to cut it. Okay. So this usually, if people say knapsack, they mean binary knapsack, because fractional knapsack is a bit too easy for anyone to actually really care about. So fractional knapsack, binary knapsack, we're going to consider an easy version of it where everything has value density, has equal value density. So all of the values are proportional to the sizes. Okay? Everyone following me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So that sounds, so we're making it harder in some way. Binary, okay, so that's all spaced out. Okay, so now we're still going to have the knapsack, which is going to have capacity 10 kilos. But now, I don't know, I'm getting paid to carry this knapsack to a campsite or something, and I'm getting paid based on the weight, but now we are carrying things like a jar of pickles, or a water bottle, a 1 liter water bottle, or something like that. So it's stuff that we cannot cut. So, so this is 10 kg, and this is, and so we have pickles, 1 kilogram, and water bottle, 1.5 kilograms, and so this is, normally when people say knapsack, they mean binary knapsack, but not with uniform densities. Okay, so the things have weights and values. Okay, stuff like that. So this problem, and I want to maximize the total weight I can carry. I want to maximize the weight I end up carrying. Okay, so for example, you can easily see if for example, everything weighs 1.5 kilos, and I have a 10 kilo backpack, then I can't completely fill it up, right? Because I can get 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5, 9, but I can't fill up the last, I can't quite fill up the backpack, okay? So, we don't even have a polytime algorithm for telling you if you can fill up the backpack, if you can exactly fill the backpack, because that problem is known as subset sum, okay? And we don't know how to do it in polynomial time. We will, when we get to dynamic programming in this course, we will study that problem, but we will get something that looks like a polytime algorithm, but it's not actually a polytime algorithm. So, would somebody like to suggest an algorithm, a greedy algorithm? Greedy. What does greedy mean in this case? If I gave you the backpack and I gave you a list of things, what greedy thing could you do? What can you sort it by? There's only one value. Do you take the smallest thing, or do you take?
Let's start with the highest value.
Start by, yeah. So the value is equal to the weight in this case. So yes, we take the biggest thing.
And then sort by highest weight.
So, well, okay, but all the weights and the values. So this is value 1. This is value 1.5. Okay. So it could be that okay, so for example, if you have 3
question, doesn't highest weight overflow the knapsack?
highest weight. No, I mean, we take the highest weight we can. If it doesn't fit in the backpack, like, we can't take it. So maybe I cannot put, I can only carry 10 kilos. So, for example, this doesn't always work. For example, if the weights and values are 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and I have 10 kilos, I take this 3. I put this 3 in. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to take 3 and 2, I have 5, and 2, I have 7, and 2, I have 9, and then I can't take anything else. Whereas I could take 2 and have 2, and 2 and have 4, and 2 and have 6, and 2 and have 8, and 2 and have 10, and I could completely fill the backpack. So this algorithm does not work. But we do not have an algorithm, a polynomial type algorithm that does work. Mojan. Oh, okay, sorry. Oops. Okay, but that's okay, but can we say anything about this algorithm? So yes, we have an algorithm, we have a greedy algorithm, but it doesn't work. But what can we say about it? Do we get anything useful from studying this? Am I just wasting your time? Well, suppose that so I'm running a little bit short of time, so I'm not going to go through this long, complicated algorithm, but I'm going to argue that we get at least half the value of the optimal solution. Okay? So we take the biggest thing. Okay? Now, this is a bit hand-wavy, but I want to introduce a concept to you called approximation algorithms, which are one of the ways we deal with hard problems. We don't get an optimal solution, but maybe we can get close. Maybe we can get a guarantee on how bad our solution is. So in this case, we're going to get something called a 2-approx. You probably can't read this, but it says 2-approx. This is actually to remind me of what we're doing. So the idea is, suppose we take the biggest item, okay? If it is more than half the backpack, then we have filled up half the backpack. And our solution is at least half as good as an optimal solution, because an optimal solution can at most fill the backpack. Okay? Now, suppose we take the big, so that's fine. If we take the biggest thing and it more than half fills the backpack, then we're done. We can actually stop, because even if other stuff would fill it more, even if we could fill it more, we don't have to because we've got the 2-approx we want. Now, suppose we take the biggest thing and it is less than half the backpack. We can then take the next biggest thing. Why? Because if we take the biggest thing and we haven't half filled the backpack, then the next biggest thing can't be more than half the capacity of the backpack. Otherwise, it would be bigger than the biggest thing, and we would have chosen it first. So if the biggest, so we don't actually have to stop taking things until we have more than half filled the backpack, or until we run out of things to take, in which case we get the optimal solution because we took all the stuff. Okay.
Question: are we picking the biggest item and assuming it also has the highest value?
Yes, because for this simple version, it's binary, which is difficult, but we assume it has uniform densities. So the value is equal to the weight. That is a simplifying assumption. So usually when people say knapsack, they mean there's fractional knapsack, in which case you have values and densities. There's binary knapsack, but you have different different values, different densities. There's the version where everything is uniform, but I ask you if you can completely fill the backpack. Which is the version called subset sum. And when we get to NP completeness, No, actually, when we get to dynamic programming, I'll show you a cartoon about this. But for right now, I just want you to know that greedy algorithms, just like divide and conquer, it's not like you have to stop. These techniques don't work when we get to hard problems. Sometimes they work, but they're slow, like the divide and conquer for 3 coloring. Sometimes they don't give you an optimal solution, but they give you something, and you can still bound it. And sometimes, so now if we have time, we have 20 minutes, which is not quite enough time. We're going to talk about another hard problem called vertex cover. So subset sum, knapsack, vertex cover, 3 coloring. The cool thing is these are all sort of equally hard and equivalent. If you solve one of them, you solved all of them, which is kind of cool. Okay. And we will see the why if you solve one of them, you solve all of them. Oh, my Kindle, I didn't make tea. Oh, well, I don't have time now. Vertex cover. You have some graph. Suppose this is, you're running some security company. This is a building with rooms and corridors. And you can put guards in the rooms, and the guards can guard any corridor that touches the room they're in, okay? So the idea is you have the graph, you're going to choose a subset of vertices such that every edge is incident to one of the vertices in your selection. So could somebody can you read these letters?
Yes.
Okay. Somebody suggest where I would put the guards. Quickly, we're running out of time. Okay, so this looks like a good place to put a guard. Oh, but then I have to guard these. So look, this has like nice.
Degree greater than 2 or
Okay,
CEGHL.
CEG. Wait, so C. Okay.
GEHL.
Are these C E G J C E G J K L? Okay. So the question is, now I have to pay these guards. C E G H L. C E G 1, 2, 3. Okay, so somebody suggested CEGHL. So notice that if I put a guard here, I can fire. If I put this guard here, I can fire this guard, which is harsh in the current economic climate. But okay, so I can reduce the number of guards. So the idea is for vertex cover, we're given a graph, and we want to find the minimum number of vertices such that all edges are incident. All the corridors are guarded by the minimum number of rooms, such that we have to put a guard there. So in general, this is a hard problem. Now, the thing is, what I'm going to show you is the greedy algorithm works on trees. And then, if we have time, I'm going to show you there is a greedy algorithm which gives you a 2 approximation for all graphs. Okay? I'm losing people, but the class isn't over yet. Okay, so this happens to be a tree, so we're going to leave this solution on here. We are going to follow this outline. So, this is one of the cases where it is not super easy to figure out how you order the vertices, how you order the items to take or not to take. I remember I did this in the fall semester and people did not find it, it was not obvious. So, what would be a natural way to order the vertices? If you're just looking at this and you say, okay, well, I would usually, if I were doing this, I would put a guard in the room where there were the most, which touched the most corners. Degree, yes, highest degree first. That doesn't work, not even in a tree. It does here, on this graph it works. But on this graph it doesn't. Okay, because if we do this, then I put the guard here, and that covers all of these, but then I still need to cover these edges, so I have to choose. Whereas if I don't put the guard here, and I put the guards here, 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 and here, then I've covered all the edges, and if I put the guard here, then I still have to choose for each of these pairs, I have to choose one of them. Okay? So I'm not going to, for the interest of time, I'm not going to make you figure out the algorithm. I'm going to tell you the algorithm. Yeah, I'm going to tell you the algorithm because it's faster. Okay, the algorithm is you take the tree, it's a tree. Let's assume it's a finite tree. Finite trees have leaves. Okay, find a leaf. Okay, so you have the tree, and you have a leaf. Maybe it has a symbol. Maybe it has another. Okay. Take this. Don't color the leaf. Don't put a guard on the leaf. Put a guard on its neighbor, its only neighbor. Because the leaf has degree 1. So it's kind of useless. Its neighbor covers at least this edge and possibly other stuff. So now what you do is you take, you put a guard on the neighbor, and then you erase all the edges that you guard with that node. Now, when you erase these, okay, maybe this disconnected. Oh yeah, let's see disconnected, right? So it's tree. So it goes. You find a leaf, you put a guard on the neighbor, and then you erase all of the edges incident to the neighbor. That leaves you, okay, maybe that breaks up the tree, because if I have if I take this leaf and I color its neighbor and erase all these, then now I'm not left with a single tree, I'm left with a bunch of trees. A bunch of trees is called a forest in mathematics, also in real life. So, but it's true, a collection of trees, a forest, there is a leaf. As long as there are edges in the forest, there is a leaf. I find a leaf, I cover it. Okay, now, how are we going to use this argument? Well, before we put any guards, then our sub-solution can be extended to an optimal solution. Suppose that after some number of I steps, so we've put a bunch of guards, and now we're left with a forest of nodes, and there are edges, and the edges are not covered. So now, what do we do on the, this can be extended to an optimal solution. S, I have 9 minutes. I may not get, I could get to the 2 approximate. Okay, so now I just have to worry about the I plus first solution. So I'm going to find a leaf, okay? For the I plus first, I'm going to find a leaf. And I'm going to color its neighbor. Now, what could the algorithm expert do differently? So this, until I colored this neighbor, my solution could be, by the inductive hypothesis, my solution extended to an optimal solution S. But now, if I color the neighbor, and the algorithm expert would do the same thing, S extends also, the optimal vertex, the vertex, optimal minimum vertex cover S includes this neighbor, then I have no problem. My sub-solution can also be extended to an optimal solution, the same optimal solution S, after I plus 1 steps. Suppose I color this neighbor, and this neighbor is not in S. The algorithm expert would not choose this neighbor. Well, then the algorithm expert has to cover this edge. And the edge only has 2 endpoints. So the algorithm expert has to choose this one. So how do I take this solution S and modify it to get S prime? Well, instead of taking this one, I take this one. And that way, I still cover this edge. Everything, the rest of S, I can do the same way. And maybe I cover this edge, and I cover some other stuff. So it can't hurt me. I can take the solution where they put the guard on the leaf, and I can move the guard to the neighbor. Maybe the neighbor is also a leaf. But I'm not increasing the size of the vertex cover. Okay. I have 6 minutes. Now I'm going to show you. My pen. Now, talking about these hard problems. Okay, how do you do vertex cover on a graph? Now, there are better approximation algorithms. We do not have a polynomial time algorithm that finds an exactly optimal solution. If we did, all kinds of things, the world would shake, and people would be able to break into your bank account. But we don't. But even with just an easy greedy algorithm, we can get close. So what we do, oh yeah, and I have to tell you this because it's on the homework. So there is a 2 approximation algorithm for general graphs. So we can make a general graph. This is now not a tree. This is just some graph. Okay. What you can do, there is, okay, fine. What you do is, the first idea is to find a maximal matching, okay? Which means a matching is a subset of edges. So we're going to find a maximal matching. Okay, so it's a subset of edges such that a matching is a subset of edges such that no vertex touches more than one of those edges. And it's maximal if we can't make it bigger, or we cannot add to it without breaking it being a matching. So for example, this edge, I can't take either of these, I can't take this one. This edge, this edge, this edge, this edge. Right? Is that maximal? So for every edge, these ones are all touching something. Yeah, we can't add to this matching. Okay? But so notice that in a vertex cover, we have to be covering every edge in that matching and everything else. All of the edges, but in particular the edges in this matching. Okay? So what do we do? Well, the algorithm says we take every endpoint we take every endpoint of the edges in this matching. That's pretty bad, right? But it's a vertex cover. Why? Because it's covering everything in the matching, and there isn't an edge. If there were an edge such that neither of its endpoints were in the matching, neither of its endpoints were incident to an edge in the matching, then we could add it to the matching. So we can build the matching using a greeting algorithm. And then just take all of the endpoints of the edges in the matching. It doesn't have to be a maximum matching even. It just has to be maximal. We just have to greedily take an edge. Is there any other edge we can take? Yes, we take it. Is there any other edge we take? And we keep taking until we can't take any more. And then we take all of their endpoints. So it has to, if there were an edge that weren't covered by any of the endpoints, then we could add it to the matching. So our greedy algorithm would have kept going. And our vertex cover has to cover each of these edges. So it has to be, for each of these, we have to have at least one of the endpoints in the matching, in the vertex cover. And notice that we can't have any of the, in a minimum vertex cover, we can't have any vertex covering two edges, because the two edges in the matching, because then the two edges in the matching would be incident to the same vertex, and that would mean we didn't have a matching. So the minimum number is at least the number of edges, the minimum size of a vertex cover is at least the number of edges in the matching, and by taking each of the endpoints, we get at most twice that many. So this gives us a two approximation algorithm, and I have no time left at all. But look, that was actually, I already mentioned simplexes slow in the worst case, so I actually got through all of the stuff I wanted to get through. don't worry, you'll find out more about this because it's on the homework. And vertex cover in a tree is in the textbook. Unfortunately, there's a question, so it doesn't tell you how to do it. But now you have the greedy algorithm for fractional length. You've seen the greedy algorithm for the two approximation of binary knapsack with uniform densities, the greedy algorithm for vertex cover in a tree, and the greedy algorithm for the two approximation of vertex cover in a general graph. That was quite a lot for one day. No, you still haven't seen minimum spanning trees, which is on Wednesday. But they're in the book. And yeah, it would be a bit crazy to try to do minimum spanning trees and fractional NAC and approximation algorithms and vertex cover and minimum spanning trees in one day. So I hope you got your money's worth out of this hour and a half. Thank you for attending. Please spread the word that the questions are not going to be easy and people should actually watch the lectures. Thank you for coming here and making me feel good about standing in front of this camera. Okay, Mojan, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, cool. Mojan, you're reading these comments, right?
Yes, but I don't want to interrupt your voice.
Okay.
I'm sorry for that mistake, guys.
No problem. My voice is not so. I should. So actually, I mean, if I run this through Zoom, apparently there's this beautify feature. So I could listen, actually have it. I wonder if it will modify my voice as well, give me sort of a cool baritone or something.
It's a question that
If I have a quick question, yes, you can, except the session will close in 3 minutes. I should have set it to run longer.
Okay, excuse me, Dr. Gage. I mean, could I ask the question about the assignment? I mean, question 5.
That's the minimum spanning tree that we will cover on Wednesday.
Okay, so I ask you on Wednesday, right?
I will cover Kruskal's algorithms, Prim's algorithm, how to build the minimum spanning tree on Wednesday.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Maybe whether I could ask the question 3. I mean, about the minimum vertex cover. I just get. I don't understand what does it mean. What does it mean? Like K belong to the big O log n. I mean, the ages.
Oh, okay. So I think my camera turned off. It means I give you a graph. Sorry, I give you a tree, and I say, okay, this is the graph is a tree plus a few edges. So remember, I started out with a tree and then I added some edges. So as long as I don't add very many edges. So for example, if I give you a tree and then I just say, okay, this graph is a tree except for this one edge. How could you do that? I mean, how could you now have a greedy algorithm to find a min vertex cover for a tree, except I'm saying, oh, well, it's a tree. And you say, yes, I have an algorithm. And I say, oh, well, it's a tree except for this one edge. How do you think, how do you deal with that? So the idea is, if I tell you it's a tree except for this one edge, there aren't that many, I mean, sort of to think about guarding the corridors. Okay, where could you put guards? You don't, that edge doesn't sort of change a lot of stuff. It's just you consider, okay, remember when you were 3 coloring Nova Scotia and you were saying, okay, I'm going to fix the colors in these for Hans and Lunenburg. And then I'm going to consider the ways to color the stuff south of Hans and Lunenburg. Oh, actually, has this cut off? No, we're still here. But I thought I told it to close the session at 1. Is anybody still here? Moshe?
Yes, we are here.
Okay. So okay, this is sort of I'm trying to think how not to give a huge hint for this question. But it's just like for the coloring, you could say, okay, suppose I color Hans green and Lunenburg red, and then think what you could do. So now you've got a tree which you can deal with, except it's got this edge which you don't like, which makes it non-tree. And you think, okay, well, what could I do? You could cover this endpoint or this endpoint or both endpoints. You can't color. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. You can't color neither endpoint because you have to cover the edge. So you have to choose at least one of the endpoints. So there are only 3 possibilities, really. Cover this end, or cover both ends. And for each of those, you can sort of consider the possibility I cover this end. Then do some stuff, and then you get it down to a subproblem that you can deal with. So so that's if I give you one edge. So now suppose that I give you a few edges. You can, as long as I don't give you too many, you can sort of do the same thing you were doing for 3 color. You can just sort of say, okay, well, I consider how I can deal with those edges. Okay, so nobody will. So the key is to know that so remember, for each edge, you've got 3 possibilities. So if you consider you have log n edges, then say I give you k edges. So k is in order log n. So let's suppose k equals 5 log base 2 of n. For each of those possibilities, so you've got, for each edge, you've got 3 possibilities. So how many possibilities do you have? Well, you've got 3 to the k, which is 3 to the 5 log n, which is 2 to the log base 2, well, log base 2, 3 times 5 log n, which is 2 to the log n, 5 log 3 is n to the 5 log 3. This is a constant, so this is a polynomial. Right? So then for each of these possibilities, you've considered all the ways to cover those edges. So now, once you've dealt with those edges, what's left is a tree or actually a forest. So as long as the number of edges is logarithmic, how do you do it? Okay, maybe that was a bigger hint than I meant to give. But the key is that, but it's quite hard. And like, you're allowed to, if people are thinking, I don't know how to do that. Well, this wasn't actually recorded, I think. But, or is it? Yeah, it's still recorded. Then if people are complaining that they have no clue how to do that question, then please point them to the lecture, and then, but please don't tell them that it's right at the end, so they have to watch the whole thing, because then they will learn about approximation algorithms. Okay, is that clear?
I think so. Maybe I will think for a while. I will review the video after the lecture.
Okay. It's not supposed to be an easy question. I try not to give easy questions. Because, but
Okay.
I think it's cute. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gage. Okay.
Thanks for the question. Okay. I will go and make tea now. So I should let you go because you might have another class or something. So
I just
will
have
stop the
one
recording.
quick question if I can ask it.
Sure.
With the midterm 3 weeks away, I just wanted to confirm that if we are doing scribes, we can still write the midterm and you'll take the best mark.
I hadn't actually thought about that, but the midterm is 3. Oh, I have to write a midterm. Yes. Yes, I will think about that and send an email.
And if we don't write it, will we get access to like the material and the answers?
Yes, I'm hoping that nobody wants to write it because yeah, okay, yes, I will prepare. I'm sure somebody will want to write it. So I will, and yes, I will post it. But the answers, so actually for the fall semester, there are the midterms. There were 2 midterms, and the final is posted. And I did practice midterms before the midterms and posted those in the solutions, and also posted a practice final and the solutions to that. So what I would say to discourage people from taking the midterm too lightly, you can think of the midterm as another assignment, but one for which I don't give you any hints. So it's an assignment, but no help from me.
Okay.
So I don't know how, but in the fall semester, I was trying to actually not give savage exams, but they turned out to be pretty nasty anyway. It will be, if you look at the practice midterms from the fall semester, it'll be like that. Maybe easier because those were too hard, I think. Well, the results were too low. The averages weren't great. So I might make it a bit easier. Yes, okay, I'll give you, people can write the midterm. The only thing is, writing exams in this online setting is kind of a pain because I can't run a midterm the way I normally would. So how do I do this? So the only thing I can do is give you an assignment, but then not help you. So
I just wanted it so we know kind of what the format would be for the final as well.
I don't really know what's been working. I mean, people are still figuring out how to run an exam online, and there's a lot of different advice floating around. Maybe, thing is, what I could do is just give you, I mean, the exams last year in the fall semester, the final exam turned out to be so hard that maybe I could just give you something like that and give you a week to do it and figure that that's fair. No, I can't give you a week to do it because it's the exam period. I can do that for the midterm. I can't do that for the final. I could give you a day to do it, or something like that. and it's open book, it's take home, just don't talk to each other.
If we have completed scribes and if we take the midterm exam, will it be considered as one assignment? 1/6.
I'm probably going to run out of scribe, so I was hoping to give people the option to do scribing to get out of an assignment. I don't know. I'll have to write a midterm. And think about how hard it is. Yes, probably it will be possible for people to get out of assignments, but you get out of one assignment anyway. I take the 5 best marks instead of the out of 6. But yes, there will probably be an option to scribe instead of doing an assignment. Okay, but we're way over time, and I haven't had tea yet today. And thank you for your patience. And then Mojan has to also go and have lunch or something. Kind of think I haven't eaten yet today. So bon appetito, everybody else who I guess will go and have lunch now. Okay. And I stop recording.